This is our garage. Sometimes we call it the maintenance shop or the farm shop. We do pretty much all our own maintenance. It's very rare that we take any vehicle, tractor, truck, machinery of any sort off the complex. Once in a great while we'll run into a problem that we can't do and we have to take it somewhere, but in my going on 7 years here, I think it's only been 2 or 3 times that that's happened. With the staff and the inmates, we've been able to do all that here in-house for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those that don't know, maybe he says this is the mowing machine.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him
Mower
to.
conditioner, it allows you to cut, probably put the hay up the next day. I don't know if this is one with backs or rollers, but
It's got that.
backs.
No, do we own this?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So we're not paying for it.
You get down underneath there and the difference.
With this, if you see, there's 5 heads here with the little blades on it, and those are what cut the hay. And then behind it, you'll see these fork-looking things. Those are the conditioning part. So what happens is when the hay is cut and those hit it, a stalk of grass has a wax coating on it, and those hit that wax. And then it allows, once that wax is damaged, it allows the moisture to seep out, and it dries faster than if the wax stayed on it. So that's the purpose of it. And this generally will shorten your drying time because that wax gets hit and it allows you to be able to bale it up a little bit quicker.
How many bales we put up with?
Generally, we're in the we varied, but in my time here, we've been in between 7 to 9 or 10,000, depending on the weather. We've also lost some of the higher numbers with the years when we had the hayfield where the nursing home is now, so we've lost some hayland. But we're generally close to the 8,000–9,000 range.
We generate about $35,000 to $40,000 in revenue.
It's varied between 30 to 40 in my time here. So
How many people do you actually have working on all the machines? Like, how many people are employed here?
There's myself, 2 full-time people, and then a part-time person that works here. And that's it, to do everything that I'm going to tour you today. We're also going to tour the farm, but we're going to tour what consists of the Public Works Department. So I'm going to show you guys some other things that we also do encompassed in that.
And the 4th person, the part-timer, is basically here to oversee the inmates to ensure we have the security with the inmates.
Right, majority of his job is he takes the crew out and assigns them the work, keeps an eye on and make sure that the work is proficient, that they don't take off. That's the majority of his work is with the inmates. So like today, we're training. He won't be in today. He's very flexible on his hours, weather permitting, to be able to accomplish what we need.
Well, will you tell them about the other 2? Wayne runs the water and sewer.
Wayne does water and sewer plus maintenance and a little bit of farm. The last few years we've slowly shifted responsibilities around here, and his has gotten shifted away from the farm more because of the requirements of the water and sewer and the maintenance. So he helps do a lot of the plowing and that in the wintertime. He also does a lot of the mowing in the summertime. Our other full-time employee, Mark, does a lot of the wood processing. He does all our deliveries for wood deliveries, hay deliveries. He runs the delivery truck. He also does some plowing in the winter and such. And then in the summer, I'm working him in more to do a lot of the tedding and raking of the hay fields to help out. But he's on the road. In the summertime, it's not uncommon for him, once we get hay in the barn, between campfire wood deliveries and the hay, it's not uncommon to have him on the road 4 days a week, at least. And that's weather permitting, but at least 4 days, sometimes 5 days a week. He's that busy with deliveries around here. So when he's out on the road, then everybody else, I kind of do a lot of the management, obviously, and then I do a lot of the equipment running, And then I also fill in a lot of, you know, if the guys are off or the guys are doing this project, but this project needs to be done, I jump in and I'll jump on the mower, I'll jump on the wood processor, I jump wherever it fill-in needs to be. I fill in all those different places a lot at the same time of having my own responsibilities and doing all the reporting to the commissioners and such. While we're still in here, I'll finish showing. This is our riding lawnmower that we bought. This was our old one, which we still use in the rough areas down by the blueberries, which I'll take you guys down to, and some of the areas down by the sewer system. But this new one is a 6-foot mowing capacity bagging system. This is where we use for the majority of the complex. We have tons of lawns as you drive around here, you could notice. And so those pretty much this time of the year need to be weekly, sometimes every 4 days, depending how fast it's growing. And so they do that. We have a lot of the areas, which I'll show as we go around, that need to be done. Handwork needs to be also done that this can't get into, that the inmates go around with bagging, push lawnmowers and do that, and then the weed whacking. But this machine is used quite a bit.
Willie, how long does it take from start to finish to manicure this place? Before start to finish,
Right.
before you start the next go?
If
3
I
days?
have
4 days?
generally 2 days. If I have a really big crew of inmates and we can go faster, which we've kind of had lately, we could probably do it in a day and a half. But generally, if you have 3 to 4 inmates, someone running this, you're looking at about 2 days to do this whole complex. So on a 5-day week, you spend 2 of them just holding the crew up doing maintenance around here, which doesn't leave a lot, you know, leaves you 3 other days to try to bag wood, do hay, and maintain garden stuff. Because water, sewer, maintenance all take priority over farming things around here. They have a higher level now. That being said, obviously if I have 10 acres of hay laying down and the grass is a little long, then I choose to do the hay because it's a higher value time the grass can wait another day or 2. But if there's any kind of emergencies, the other 3 departments take priority over the farm and doing those things. We have 2 tractors. This is what we refer to, the 4030 is our bigger tractor. We'll hear me refer to a big tractor and a little tractor. This is our big tractor. This tractor does most of all the tractor work on the complex. It runs the mowing machine, it runs the baler, any 3-point hitch implements for working the gardens, it's all done on this tractor. The other tractor had 3 jobs, it's been downgraded to 2 jobs now. Basically it rakes hay and teds hay is the 2 jobs it does. It used to run our old wood processor that was 3-point hitch, but now with the new wood processor it has an independent motor, as I'll show you when we get down there. So it's not needed for that. So it's pretty much used, it's a very old tractor, it's late 60s. So it's just used for raking and tedding. Does a very good job, sips fuel fairly well, so it's good for those things. This is our baler. I don't know if you want to bring over the stuff. Bring over the camera. I'll try to explain a little bit. The hay, for those folks that aren't aware of how hay baling goes, the hay gets sucked up into here, and that auger pushes it through. And when you come back here, this thing has a ram, and it's ramming the hay in there. And then the hay comes out through here. You get a shot of this. These are called the knotters. So the hay is packed inside there, and then as it comes out, this ties string, and it also knots the string all in one. So when the hay comes out, it's all in a bale form. We flip this open, and we attach, there's a hitch under here, and we attach a hay wagon to it. And so as the hay comes off, it goes right up on the hay wagon, and there are 2 individuals that ride on the hay wagon. One takes them off this, and the other one is stacking. So in a haying process, we need 2 guys on the wagon, a guy driving, a guy raking the hay at the same time. Then you have usually up to 4 inmates we have in the barn unloading the hay, stacking the hay in the barn. Which is much better, much more efficient process than what used to happen. When I first came here, there was no hay wagons. So all the hay would be dropped on the ground. Then you had to go around with the pickup trucks and pick it all up and bring it into the barn, which was a lot more work for the inmates and a lot less efficient. And at the end of the night, you could be here till 10 o'clock at night picking up hay. This way, when I shut the baler off from baling hay, all the hay's on the wagons. And the last couple wagons, we have I'll just take you out to the barn. We'll just drive in and leave them loaded, so that way we cut down on overtime. We're not here late. We just drive the wagons in, drop them, and we can unload them the next day because they're undercover and they're not going to get rained on. And we can, before, if we did 700 to 800 bales in a day, the 6 or 7 inmates would be just exhausted and not want to come back to work the next day. With this system, I can run 11 to 1200 bales a day in and day out, and it's just they want to keep coming back to work because it's not that strenuous. You know, they're working hard, but it's not like it used to be, and so it allows us to be a lot more efficient on the hay.
How much hay, how much area do we actually hay?
We do about 120 to 130 acres of hay here. Probably 20 some acres of that is what we refer to as the walker fields up the road, and then the rest of it is here on the complex.
The Walker Field representative
Excuse me, what are you talking?
are owned by the Walker family, and we've just hated them for I don't know how many years. We fertilize them and keep them going. And
I think your headlights are still on your truck.
Okay.
And we'll head out that way. Any other questions about the haying process? Because this is the majority of the machinery for it. Outside you'll see we have a tedder and a couple of rakes that I'll show you in the hay wagons. But
Now there was an inmate that you found out knew how to fix machinery.
yes,
Did that gentleman come back? Whatever happened to him?
He doesn't come back. We often do. The process with the inmates is when they're new to the crew, they're put on the general crew, and then as they're here, we evaluate them and see how their attitude, their work ethic, those different things, their skills, what they did out on the, the outside, as we call it, and then we'll tap into that. So if we know someone's a mechanic and they got a good attitude and they have a good work ethic, and I have a problem, I'll say, okay, why don't you come on and give me a hand, and then I kind of evaluate how they're doing, and we work together, and then eventually to progress, if I think they're doing good, I'll get a project and I'll say, okay, go ahead, and then I'll kind of just sit back and supervise. Same thing with building projects. If we have one that's a builder on the outside come in, I'll talk a lot and say, well, how would you do this and how would you do that, and I question them a lot as time goes on and kind of formulate opinions to see, and then if we have a project coming up, I'll have them working with me and slowly do different, increase their responsibilities, if you will, to that project. And we try to do that a lot, at least with the jail. We try to be consistent of coming out and good work ethics and good attitudes that we teach them, but we also try to take some of their skills and use them to our benefit here, but also other ones, if they don't know. Sometimes I've had young guys in here that, have a little idea about mechanics but aren't real great, but I'll have someone else that is good, and sometimes those two guys will work together good and can kind of train that guy and give them a heads up of, hey, this is how you do this or that, and that person, that younger guy, will build some skills towards that. So we do a lot of that here. You don't see it, there's not written in a book, it's not, I don't have a lesson plan for all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a learn as you go and a constant evaluation. I communicate with the jail a lot on these different guys. I give them constant updates and reports of how they're doing out here, and that determines things in there for them. And we try to work together with things like that. Knock on wood, most of the time, the guys that step up to be mechanics in here and things that get those kind of responsibilities, I haven't seen them back. Usually they're the ones that, maybe they made a mistake, they're here doing their time, but most of them have been very successful once they get out of here of learning their lesson and whatnot. And I know there's been a few since Commissioner Batchen's been here that could tell you the same thing. He stops in and talks with them and sees what's going on, and quite often around here. And
For some reason, after they've been here, they don't come back.
There are some that are on the general
There's
crew.
been one, has he? Or two? There haven't been very many.
There's been a couple, but most of the time, those are the ones that are just on the general crew. I didn't feel they had enough work ethic or whatnot to step up into here, but the ones that actually come in here and work in here, I haven't seen any of them back in my time. The general crew, yeah, we get a few repeaters, obviously, but the big crew, the short, small few in here, I haven't seen too many of them back. So.
One of the shames of the whole thing is we can't get the public to hire these kids when they get out. Yeah, you don't want somebody's been stealing money running your cash register for you, but these kids, if Willie sees a good worker outside, I mean, they ought to be a prime candidate for working for a landscaper somewhere, or I don't know what you can call it, a skill running a weed whacker, but there's a work ethic, and that's what people can't get around here. And we find out who they are here, but trying to go out and get them hired somewhere is difficult. If we could figure a way to do that, we could really help some of these kids start with.
I have written letters of recommendation for inmates for work jobs out when they get out here, to court things, to we've had people from other counties for different reasons that got brought here. This is quite a few years ago, but they got brought here, and they come out to work for me, and they've been 180 degrees different compared to what they were at the other county. They come here, they're model inmate, they're working hard, all those types of things, and they've asked me, can you write me a letter of recommendation to my superintendent over my county to maybe get some of my good time back. And I've done that, and I've had a couple of them that have earned their good time back, because when they've come here, they've been hardworking and have done good things for us, and I write the letter and talk to the other people at jail, and I said,
We've had some found out the other superintendent was right too.
Oh yeah, it's gone both ways, definitely. So that's kind of what goes on with that.
The other thing is, we do most of our own maintenance here, as you can see, packed away all around in here. Tools, welding machines, that whole room is full of equipment, tools.
Also, this is the 4-H welding.
Yep, we've had
Oh yeah.
a lot of different community things. We have the 4-H spin club for blacksmithing come, and they used the shop here for I think it was about 6 weeks, one night a week. They kept their forges and everything here, and their anvils, and the kids would come for, I think it was they had 2 different sessions going on, an hour for each session, and probably I think maybe 6 kids in each session, and come and use our building to be able to do those kinds of things. I'll make sure they coordinate it with me, and I make sure for example, they use this space, so I'll make sure the equipment is out of here that night so that they can use it. And they were doing it like late February through March, April time frame, so it was too cold to be outside. They needed an undercover area, so we've done that.
It was part of their new 6 or 8 week program rather
Spin
than
program,
year-long one. So
right.
kids were really excited to start. They
Made
started
some
running
really amazing
Coos
things.
County too, didn't they? They finally
Yeah.
began another one up there after this one here.
Yeah, the welding club has been very popular.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have it in different locations, so it's available to different kids around the county.
We not to get off that subject, but trying to move forward here. We also, when we go in the morning, we check out the inmates that are available to come and work. You'll have generally a list that we have that are qualified to come out. Sometimes they might be coming out, and then all of a sudden we call in there the next morning, they got in trouble that night and they can't come out. That happens once in a while, but most of the time it's pretty consistent. And so they'll come out in the morning, and then
Excuse me, Willie. I guess the general thinking around the county is that you have 20 or 30 of these kids from the jail that can come over here.
Oh.
The fact is, it's usually what, 3, maybe 4?
3 to 4. Lately we've been up around 6 or 7. We've had a pretty good crew in the last month, maybe.
They can't come out in pre-trial unless they sign a waiver.
Yeah,
They
and that
have to have
hasn't
been
even-
sentenced here before they
Right.
can come in. Then they have to be minimum security when they get here.
Right. So they have several different classification things to get through to be able to make it out here. Right now we've got a larger crew of 6, like I said, 6 to 7. That's been the largest crew I've had in probably almost 2 years. The new jail superintendent and the staff over there the last year and a half has been just great. I mean, the way we work together is the best I've ever had since I've been here. We constantly communicate, constantly helping each other out, and it's just worked really well here compared to when I was first here, and so they give us everybody they can. Their philosophy is they shouldn't be in there; they should be out working. And if the other departments need help on the complex, we help out all the other departments. But if they go to the jail says, "Well, listen, get a hold of Will. He runs the crew, and he'll help you guys out." And that's what we do. So he tries to give us everybody available. If he wants to do things in the community, which they do, if you talk to them over there, different things, or maintenance over, outside maintenance over there. He tries to schedule it for weekends or certain days with me that he knows I'm not using the crew here. So he really tries to keep them, you know, we used to have problems where they would take them off to do other things and I couldn't have them working here. That philosophy has really changed. He really concentrates on having them be out here for us, and then when we're not going to use them or whatever, then he'll use them over there. But we bring them out. This table, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, this table is where they have their lunch. So they come out at around 7:30, quarter to 8 in the morning, and then we'll usually take them back around, most days around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Some days if we're haying or plowing, they'll be out, you know, all, you know, I've had them out here till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I turn around and take them in and get them back out at 5 in the morning. In the wintertime, that happens a lot with snowstorms. They have a refrigerator, so they have they can keep, you know, things cold. We offer them coffee. They get very little for what they do out here, but coffee is one of the things I can get them. So they get coffee, they get their lunches. They have their shelving system here to keep extra clothing and different things. And they said it's kind of like a work day. They come out, you know, they might get a 15-minute break here and there. They get their half-hour lunch generally. Sometimes that can be cut short because we got to get back to work. But they come out, they eat, and then they go back to work. So that way when I first started here, we used to have to take them back inside for lunch and then bring them back out. And we lost about, between their counts and them feeding everybody in there, we used to lose about 2 hours worth
They
of
had
day.
to be searched every time they went back.
It was a lot more work for them too. And so now what we do is once we get the inmates out in the morning, we call over to the nursing home, we let them know how many lunches we need for the inmates, and then we just go over and pick up the lunch there directly and bring it back to feed out over here. Saves a lot of time, a lot of work for the jail of all the stripping out, and then also a lot of time for us in the day to keep getting more work out of them. And more like what you would have at a regular job. You're not going to get a 2-hour break most places. You're going to get your half hour and go back to work. So that's the shop for the most part. We can head outside and we'll start walking around, show you guys some stuff out there.
Don't take a picture over your ear here. We just getting
No, it's you.
Okay.
It's all you.
We came down here last year and fertilized. Andrew Doobie from Tamworth
Oh yeah.
and I brought my horses up and equipment. We spread what we spread with compost from the
Yep.
old food product that got composted. Oh boy, look at those berries.
And all the grass clippings from the lawnmower, we have piles of those. And at the time when we used to have the pigs, we mixed in the manure and we would turn it every week or so. And then last spring we spread most of it all on the 2 different gardens with the horses up here. That was a neat experience. Plus the problem we have a lot in the spring is it's very wet around here, and the horses are able to get where the tractors can't when in the wet ground. So that was a big help for us to start the season. So we have blueberries out here. These 3 rows that you're looking at here are our mature blueberries. These used to be located up in the rear of the new nursing home back there, and when they built that we had to pull them out and bring them down here and transplant them. So we did that one year, and then the next year
How many plants were there?
about 350 between these 3 rows that go down through here.
They all make it?
Yep.
Well, most of them.
Yeah, if we lost anything, we lost half a dozen or less.
Boy, that's good.
On those were very good. The new blueberries, well, what we consider new blueberries, we put these in 2011. So they're just starting. As you can see, some of these are starting to get some decent berries on them. They got a couple more years to get to full production, but they're coming along. Now we have lost a few of them to different reasons here. So we have a few spots here and there that are missing. But overall, they're doing pretty good and coming along.
Now, do you have to fertilize these, or do you leave them alone?
We do. We give them twice a year, about a handful per plant. The big plants get about 2 handfuls, and we do that. We did it about 2 weeks ago, and we'll do it again next week. You do it 3 weeks apart, but your last one you want to have done before the 4th of July, so that way the new growth that comes on has time to harden off for the winter time. So we'll get those. We do try to also, when time permits, you can see we got a big sawdust pile back here. We try to mulch sawdust all the way down through here on each of these every spring. We haven't gotten to it this year. It's one of those things, again, where we got to balance. You know, the subcommittee really has been pushing and directing us towards more wood production because that's where more income comes in, and that's what we're trying to do. So out here with all these blueberries, we spend a lot of work, and we might bring in, you know, on a good year, $2,000. Well, we can make $2,000 in 1 week doing wood. So it really has shifted our priorities of what we do. So we're basically just trying to maintain this down here and do the things that bring in more revenue. Last year, probably, we used to sell them in several different areas. We wholesaled them to different farm stands around here who would retail them for us, or for themselves. They just buy them from us. Last year we did a big shift, and probably 98% of our blueberries went to the nursing home. We had a staff member in there that worked in the kitchen, and we would bring her in, you know, 50 pints or whatever at a time, and she would freeze them for the nursing home, so that way they had them throughout the fall and the winter time over there. Hopefully that's our goal, to continue to do that, is just primarily supply them to the nursing home and let them freeze them over there, and keep it here on the complex. It's you know, I feel that's the purpose of the county farm, is to help provide for that, for one, and for two, it's a lot easier. We're not driving around, spending time on the road to take these to different stands. So that's what we're working towards. But like I said, you know, we should have sawdust on here. We shouldn't have all this grass in between these blueberries. But I don't like to spray anything more than we have to. We've never sprayed these at this point. I try to not do that. I'm not a believer if you can't do it, but I just try not to do it as much as possible. But again, our priorities have gotten shifted away from this. When we ordered these and took this on, it was before the wood business took off the way it is. Mm-hmm. So we thought that this would help bring in more revenue and use the inmates' labor. But then when we took on the wood business, we make so much more money, and it takes so much more of our time that we kind of shifted away from these.
And how many of the new plants are there?
There was 800 when we bought them. I would say that we're probably down at least to 750 over the last few years of losing some. So I'm not sure what we're gonna. Right now, even if we have 6 or 7 inmates, which is a big crew, just to keep these 3 rows picked is like all we can manage, pretty much. I mean, you come down here, the guys will come down here at 7:30 in the morning, they'll pick till noon, and then sometimes there's other days they'll have them come back in the afternoon. And for about a 4-week period, they'll do that 3 days a week, pretty much. And
don't forget the 2 ladies that we had here.
Yep, and the ladies come down.
The garden last year.
Yep.
That did a fantastic job. And that was really, it was like their own home garden. They couldn't wait to get out there and,
yep.
And work in the garden.
And when we get to the garden, I'll elaborate on that more. But so we'll have the crew come down and pick. But again, you know, you pick 100 pints of blueberries and you're getting, you know, $2.50, $3, whatever a pint.
They
a couple
eat
hundred
2 pints.
They're what's that?
And they eat 2
Yeah,
pints.
we don't count those, but what actually makes it to the shop, you're looking at $200 to $300 versus, you know, we can make that in an hour or whatever bagging wood. Mm-hmm. So that's what happens. And then so when we get to this part where I was going with it, when we get to these on full maturity, I still haven't really, we need to brainstorm with the commissioners and everything how we're going to market these, as far as, you know, pick your own, or as they get more developed, you know, are we going to sell some plants off to keep it at a smaller amount out here? We haven't really crossed that bridge yet because they're still growing, but it's something in the next few years that some discussion is going to have to take place in some kind of decision making.
And
You don't
understanding that volunteers require a certain amount of supervision, and that requires a certain amount of time, it might possibly be an opportunity for some more community involvement.
Sure.
On a volunteer basis.
Sure. Then the other thing you have to be careful with volunteers or pick your own type of operation is the security end of it. You know, if we have people coming in, some people that every day don't realize, but there'll be people that come in and they'll drop tobacco or they'll drop whatever in here on the base of one of these plants, and then they communicate it in there, and then when the inmates come out, they're picking that up. So we have to really limit to the ability of what the jail wants to do. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of that security is on their end, but I have to respect that and support that of not setting up opportunities for that to happen. Mm-hmm. So having a lot of strange people on the complex when we're not around can be you know, a challenge there, that we don't want to bring that into the jail when we have our people out. So that's another thing that has to come into the conversation when some decisions are ready to be made on that too.
Good point.
Will you propagate any of your own plants here?
No, we haven't. Just, you know, to fill in some of the spots, it might not be a bad idea, but again, it just comes down to time with what's, you know, priority around here. And these tend to be on the lower end of the, you know, to come down once a week and mow these generally happens. You know, we don't have a problem coming down because it's a quick thing. It can be in and out of here in an hour or whatever, and keep it down. But other than that, it's, you know, I came down and I pruned all these myself this summer or this spring. Took me about a day or two to come down and do that, and then you have to come back and pick all this stuff up. And fertilizing takes a few hours. But like I said, we try to. They're low maintenance to an extent, but at the same time, they're also low priority for us. So, over here, also as you'll see, we have these hoses out here that we don't have hooked up yet this year, but each one of these rows of blueberries has a drip tape that goes underneath it, and so they're hooked up to we hook up to the irrigation system. So if we have a real dry summer, as the berries are forming, they take a lot of moisture, and so we'll hook that up and run that at certain times to keep the moisture going for the blueberries. That's what those are for. We have a little tool shed out here that we don't have a lot in right now, but generally when we have the garden and the berries going, we'll keep hand tools and such in there that's needed. This used to be our garden. This area you can see through here, it's starting to grow back in. We're moved our garden. I'm putting this back into hay production. It's been a garden for 11, 12, 13, 14, 4 years that we had this as a garden. So now we're kind of rotating it out and moving our garden as I'll take you guys over to show you where it is now. And this will go back into hay production. We had where these young blueberries are before they came, that year came, we had that as a garden next to it to kind of work the land, and then the following year we put in the blueberries. So we try to move our garden around every few years to keep our soil healthy and for production of different things. Is there any questions that I could answer at all down here in the blueberry areas, garden areas?
So, are you reducing the size of your garden, or are you,
Yes, we are reducing the size of the garden, and we're going to try to focus in, due to time and labor, trying to focus in on a smaller garden and growing quantities that the nursing home can handle on a fresh basis more than having large quantities. It is nice to do large quantities. We've donated a ton of food to the food banks around. And personally, I love doing that. It's one of the most fulfilling jobs I think I've done, because you go in there. I've gone up to the OCC and all kinds of old folks there at lunchtime, and you bring up boxes of stuff, and the gratitude and appreciation is just overwhelming. I love that feeling, but at the same time,
Willie, I eat that. The old folks.
yeah, for the
Oh,
flies.
well.
I mean,
Oh well.
but we have to balance the time to maintain the garden and everything to give it away. And again, we're focusing more and more on the wood because of the profits made off of it. And so now I'm trying to narrow it down, like I said, more for the nursing home and the quantities they can handle, and whatnot for that. And so.
Well, what would be a problem if we decided to lease out part of, for instance, this garden to somebody that might want to have the time to put into food production for the nursing home?
For the nursing home?
Yeah.
So they're going to come in and grow it and then give it to the nursing home?
Well, not give it to them,
Sell it.
but
Sell
sell
it.
it to them.
Right.
It seems a shame to have all of this available land and not the help to do it.
Right. I haven't fully prepared an answer for that, suppose. So shooting off the hip, I would first say, again, security issues. Second, we are going to, it's not making as much profit, but we put it back into hay. We are getting some revenue off of that. And other than that, I mean, I don't know. You know, I have to give it more thought. I don't know that you couldn't do that. What are you going to charge people? Are you going to have water available to them? How are you going to put that into the cost, you know, those kinds of things. Not saying it's not capable of doing it, but you know, we'd have to give it some thought and see if there was interest. But
Well, it just seems a shame after what we saw those women did last year here with all the tomato plants and
Right.
everything we had going. To be out buying vegetables from someplace when we could raise it ourselves if we had more help from the jail, but you know, they've got out as many people as they can let out, so
Right.
that's out of the question.
yeah, I mean, it comes down to the priorities. You know, the decision makers from the delegation to the commissioners. If vegetables are a high priority of them, then that's what I'm giving the directive, and that's what we'll do. But the directive in the last few years is really more the wood, because that's where more of the profit is. And so that kind of has to be a discussion. Like I said, that has to be a discussion amongst the policymakers and the budget holders of what you would like us to do. It's not that we're incapable of doing it. We're definitely, as you go around, a good chunk of this land could all be put into vegetable production. It's a matter of having the equipment and the people and the support of that's the direction that we want to go.
So right now, we are limiting the amount of benefit that we can get from our land here. And that's a conscious decision that we've made. So it might be wise every few years to reevaluate that and decide, do we maybe want to keep ourselves limited in how much value we get from our land, or do we want to invest a little bit more and with a good business plan maybe increase our benefits
Sure.
as a result.
Right.
It's a decision.
It's a decision.
But it should be made thoughtfully rather than just, well, this is how we've always done it, or I guess I won't go further with that.
Right. But yes, that's a decision that you know, policymakers would need to consider and do. You know, I take much direction, obviously, from the commissioners, but also try to listen in and weigh an opinion of what the subcommittee is telling me they wanted me to go, and we try to do that the best we can, and that's the direction we're in currently. But
Right.
could
And I
definitely be reviewed.
appreciate that you listen in and try to implement that policy as best you can, but it's not just a suggestion. We are limiting how much money you have to use in terms of equipment, personnel, whatever. So
Right.
you're limited in
Yep.
resources that you have to do your job.
The other thing that's hard with the farming end of the business is that even when you want to change your policy or the direction you want to go, farming doesn't happen overnight. So when most representatives are in here for a 2-year span, you know, once you finally settle in and figure out, okay, this is the direction we want you to go in, it can take me a year to 2 years to change production over, depending on what we're doing, because you can't just all of a sudden wake up and, you know, it's that way. And so it gets I understand it's challenging, but it gets hard for me to change things because you guys want to see the results before your next time. You have a short window that you're here and you want to see results of what you changed, but for those changes to happen sometimes takes longer, and that can be a challenge sometimes also, for you guys to see what you want to have happen and me being able to get in that direction. You know, once you start to say, okay, this is what I want you to do, okay, I start working towards that, but you might not see those results until a little bit further down the road.
So where are we going next?
Where are we going?
Where are we going next?
Around here?
Yeah.
Yep, headed back up this way.
And so where we're going next also is long-term.
So while we're here, I'll let you guys know this is our delivery truck. This truck the truck itself is a 2005. It was purchased in 2008 before I started, and then they did a custom body design on it in order to hold lots of hay in there. We can fit about 150 bales when we deliver comfortably on it, and then up to 3/4 of wood in it. And for bagged wood, we've put about 450 bags in there to take campgrounds. So that is the truck. When I was talking earlier that one of the employees is out 4 or 5 days a week sometimes in the summertime delivering. It's done in this vehicle here.
And that's a dump.
Yes, it's a dump body truck, and it becomes, you know, it's very, very important and part of the operation here. and primarily, once in a while, used for some maintenance stuff, but to be fair with this truck, it's primarily a farm vehicle. We've really, in the last few years, trying to disseminate between what vehicles do what around here, and this is an actual primarily farm. This is our hay barn. This barn, as you can see right now, I just emptied it out last Friday of all our equipment. In the wintertime, we store all our equipment, the majority of almost all our equipment in here. Emptied it out last week. We're getting ready to start haying here anytime. So hay goes in here. The drive-through barn, as you can see, it wasn't when I started here, but they had the door off to the left, and we moved it to the center to make it a drive-through so we can drive the hay wagons in, stack hay on both sides, and then drive out. We oftentimes also do wood processing in here for our bagging, and that'll oftentimes be on the left-hand side. This year, we converted, as everybody knows, the what used to be referred to as the piggery into the new wood processing barn. So most of the operation has been down there. But that's what this barn is used for. This truck and trailer, as you'll see here, this truck is primarily a maintenance truck. It's a 1-ton dump body that was purchased last year. We got a little bit of money. There was a lot of controversy on budgeting things, but we got a little bit of money, and then we sold some equipment last year. We got that approved through the delegation and used that money to purchase. So we got this vehicle. It's just become extremely valuable on the complex. It came with a plow, so we do some plowing with it. It's not our primary because it's hard to see out of it, but it transports inmates around. It's a dump body to transport dirt and all kinds of things that we need. We have the trailer hooked up to it. This trailer is outfitted for all our lawn gear that the inmates need. We have the rakes and shovels and brooms.
Where did the trailer come from, though?
The trailer originally came from the sheriff's department.
Was that a pickup from Rico?
Yep. Well, from whatever I don't know where exactly they got it from, but it was repoed or whatever through their wonderful things that they do over there, and we got it handed down to us before I came here. We've improved it and put the sides on it and such, and painted it, kept it in good shape, and they tow all their equipment on that to go around the complex and do the maintenance. So this is primarily what that's used for. Other than that, this, like I said, the wintertime, this is all storage of, you would have been here Friday. From that end to this end is full of machinery that's brought in for storage. And then the trucks and things that are outside now are parked in the center, and we drive them out. So any, snowstorms and all that, we put everything away before the storm comes. That way it's all under cover. Any questions about this barn? This building that we're here is the sand and salt shed, you'll hear me refer it to. In the wintertime, all of our sand and salt is mixed. Basically what happens is we get it delivered in a big dump truck out here. We scoop it up, we bring it in here. We'll have 2 inmates with salt and shovels on each side, and they shovel the salt into it as we dump it. And then after a bucket or two, we'll pick it back up and mix it again with the bucket. Reason that this is really important is because there's been a lot of talk about changing over to possibly all salt on our pavement, and there's going to be some budgetary things that I'm sure come up with that issue in the near future. But I want everybody to see this and know that this is the one and only building we have for that capability. And as far as putting salt in, was brought up as far as different regulations for runoff and such. If you had pure salt, which I have not looked into yet, but I highly doubt that this is would be within those limits. But this is what we got. So when we refer to a salt and sand shed, this is what we're looking at.
So there's
I
no.
don't think salt is corrosive. Look at the bottom on what we see the roofing.
Now, where's the well right around? Is there a well somewhere right here?
No.
So is there any mat or something underneath here to prevent this from going in the ground? Or is it just the cement?
I believe it's just a cement. I don't know well before my time. Down to the sewer department. Out here, this is kind of the barnyard as you look around. This is the old cattle barn. Currently there's really nothing stored in there. It does leak at times. Also fills with water. It's lower when you walk in there. and it's not really used for anything. This barn, as you're scanning this way and see the processor, we're going to go in there in a second and I'm going to show you that. That's the wood processing barn. And then this barn over here is our mulch barn, what we call the mulch barn. Mulch hay is stored in there to keep it separate from feed hay. Also some different supplies, picnic tables, those sorts of things that we put away for the winter time are kept in there.
Just up until a year ago, we covered with junk cars that were being used for evidence in court cases, and we finally got the various communities to take care of their own vehicles.
Just so we don't miss out, I'm going to take you guys down to the sewer department because, like I said, this is farm and all the other things that we do on this tour that I would like delegation members to know about. We're down here at the sewer department that I would like to show this building. We won't need to go in it right now, but it's called the grinder building. So sometimes with the different budget issues, we've talked about heaters and explosion-proof things in there to keep that warm. What happens is all the sewage from the various buildings come down in there, and there is a grinder that sorts out. So let's, for example, let's say the inmates decide to throw a sock down the toilet. It's going to come out in there, and there's a grinder that's going to separate it, grind it, and separate that material from making it into our septic tanks. Over here, behind this building, we have two 20,000 gallon tanks that come through, that are here. So after the sewage comes through the grinder building, it goes into these tanks for settling, and these tanks are budgeted in our budget to be pumped out semi-annually, twice a year. And it's taken up to, currently it's taken up to Camp David. But it goes through here, and then it continues through the system.
Now the grinder handles the nursing home, jail, and the administration building. So everything goes through that.
Correct. But to elaborate on that, the admin building and the nursing home also have septic tanks. So a lot of things settle in there before they come down here. Then it is processed. The more liquid comes down here from those places. The jail goes directly into the grinder building, so you get everything from them. But it is less that comes down from the others. And you'll see other septic tank bills for the different buildings, and that is the reason why.
Okay.
So coming down here, after it flows through the tank, it comes down here to the, what we call the wet well. What happens with the wet well is it's mostly liquid by this point that comes down here. It's dirty liquid. And there's two big pumps in here that are extremely expensive and do go out every so often.
These are the pumps that were on the rails.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay. Yep. I can even lift it up if you wanted to see in there.
Oh yeah, I'll stick the whole camera down in there.
Hey man, I'm not going down there.
So these two rails hold two pumps that are down in there, and that in the past we've had problems with these rails and we've had problems with these pumps. These are very expensive pumps that are down there, but they take the water that comes out of those septic tanks up there and they pump them down to the clarifiers, which is the next portion that we're going to walk by and see. And this is very deep. It's on the full side right now, as a matter of fact, but at different times you'll actually see the pipe coming in and hear the water flowing into there.
Willie, why can't this affluent be used as fertilizer?
At this point where it is right now, it is not
Not
safe.
enough nutrients or not safe?
It's not safe. There's all your bacteria, harmful bacteria that are still in it. And these pumps that are in here are very, very heavy. So a lot of times we have to start pulling them up a little bit and hook on the, right here it has a pulley system that we bought that goes over, and we can crank them to help get them up because of how heavy they are.
The last one that you couldn't get out and the guy had to go down himself and do it. We bought this afterwards.
Right, he didn't have to go down, but we went as far as we could, and then we hooked the chain on with the loader and we pulled it out with the loader. But yes, this is to help with that. So it flows from this wet well into what we call the bioclears. These are the bioclears. A lot of times you'll hear us talk about good bacteria in here eating the good bugs eating the bad bugs. And what it is I'll jump up here and open it up so you can stick the camera in there. There is a lot of, actually let's go down to one of these because they're actually on so you can.
Hey, Willie, the lock supposed to be laying here, or?
Yeah, he's working on this one, that's why. And he's been doing things. Okay, this one's running, so that'll give you a better shot. Now each one of these, there are 3 of these clarifiers here. Each one has 3 pumps in it. 2 dosing pumps and 1 recycling pump. Each of those pumps is in the $600 range, and it is very common for us to replace between the 9 pumps that are here to replace 3 or 4 in a given year. You want to come around this way. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. But there are these small round media that you can see in there that are covered with good bacteria. What happens is this is running, it's spreading out the untreated water onto that media, and then that's what treats the water and gets all the bad bacteria out of it, the majority of the bad bacteria out of it. And this is the treatment process. So sometimes, like I said, good bugs are killing the bad stuff in this process of the sewer system.
Is that pretty much self-sustaining, or do you need to reseed it from time to time?
No, it's pretty, as long as it stays wet, it's pretty self-sustaining. When the pumps go out, we have to, one of us will put a suit on. Last time it was me, we all take our turn, and we have to get in there, and we have to stand on a very small area because these are probably 30 feet deep. And if you fell in there, would not be a good thing. So you have to get in there and then pull the pumps by hand. These are lighter pumps. 2 guys, 1 guy can do it, 2 guys it's easier because the pipe that goes all the way down with it is very slimy and slippery to hang on to. So usually we have a suit that we're in, but we also take some paper towel to kind of dry it as we pull it so you can keep a better grip on it. And then we have to do the wiring. These boxes have a plethora of wires in there that all have to be hooked on properly, and there's boxes on the back of that building that have all the controls to time. You know, things are on timers and on floats. There's floats in there, so it'll tell it, okay, we got enough, we need to kick on. Or then the recycling pump will shoot some back, so that way there's a percentage and it shoots it back to be able to come back through again to keep getting dosed. This is the wood processing barn in here. We are on the 15th of June today. We've already taken out a little over 3,000 bags that I reported last week with the commissioners. And at that point, this area that we just walked in, pretty much to the ceiling was full. We've emptied that and are now back to where we are right now. So the inmates stand on these, or behind these benches. They take a bag, a bucket. Give you just a little example of what happens. Flip the bucket over that's cut out. They slide the bag on. They start filling it with wood. They'll have some kindling over here. They'll put a few pieces of kindling. Then they slip the bag out. Then it's still, thank you, still loose. They stick a few more pieces in, get it nice and tight and hard, tighten it off, and then they stack it. And that's the process of bagging the wood. We can fit 2 individuals usually per table on here. We have 3 tables set up, so we could potentially do up to 6 people bagging at a time. And then you usually have 1 to 2 people to keep these tables. These are very empty. Usually have these full, but they've bagged almost everything that we got in here. We got to process some more. And then they'll have, like I said, 1 to 2 guys that will, or ladies, that will fill these tables and keep the people that are bagging. And then they have a little push cart here. They'll set them on that cart, and then whoever is filling tables in between will push that down and stack them in here. And
Will,
then,
you want to tell them what you had planned to do over here with the back that the delegation didn't think you needed?
Well, yes, I can do that. We have a little break room set up down here. Sometimes they do lunch down here. There's a wood stove that usually goes here. In the wintertime, we'll run the wood stove in order to keep, it doesn't heat this whole building, but it does give them a spot to come over and take the chill off their hands and do that. So we have some wood over here that's done. Part of our proposal that was turned down is we wanted to put an addition off the front of this barn that would go out so we could process wood in a large quantity in that barn to keep the wood dry. So a day like today, if I process that wood and we bring it in this building, the wood is soaking wet from being outside. Then they pack it in a bag very tight, and they pack the bags tight like you see there. The wood starts to become moldy and grows mold on it by the time they deliver it, depending on the time of the year. So you're getting a poorer quality of a wood. So what I wanted to do with this addition is not only allow us to have more wood on a rainy day in a dry environment so they could keep bagging on a wet day, it gives us more space to have that whole thing in the addition, and then also be able to back a truck in there and process into the truck if we needed to do cordwood delivery. Again, we have slowly weaned down, if you will, on our cordwood because we're concentrating more on the bagged wood. Again, that's more of a direction that the subcommittee has had us going in for.
So this is where you wanted to extend the concrete out and build an addition so you can bring the.
We did want to do it here originally, yes, but we changed to this side, and the reason being is because the time you put addition in there with the other buildings, there was no room for the snow load to come off the buildings. It would have been on top of there was no room to clean it out or anything, and the wind blows and drifts snow in there really bad. So we decided to go out this front door and put the addition out there, is what we had originally planned.
So it wouldn't have cost, I guess you can't say it wouldn't have cost because we had to pay to put the building up that flew down, that we got the insurance money for. But we would not have had to ask for new money. We would have been able to increase our efficiency here. The delegation gave up $3,800 that the insurance company was waiting for us to finish the project. Since it won't be done, we've lost that money. We do get to keep the $10,000 that was the original payment.
So that's our wood building. There is addition off the back here. Currently it still has big concreted pens back there that we'll use at some point if we ever get a chance to fill this. We can put more bags back there. Just this year it was very cold winter, so the guys had limited time down here, and then all the snowstorms, we were busy doing the plowing and shoveling. So by the time we got this full, then deliveries started going out, and then we're just back to filling it up. All this wood that you see in here will all be gone within before the 4th of July. I can guarantee you all that'll be gone and more. We're shooting for around I like to be between 10 to 15,000 bag range. We've already done about 3,000 this year. The last few years we've been pretty consistent around 10,000. We had one year where we were up a little bit. They will take as much, basically, if we could produce 20,000, they'd probably take it from us. We just don't have the capabilities of producing that much with all the other responsibilities we have on the complex. 10 to 12,000 has been kind of the max that I've been able to get the guys to produce. We're hoping that this building, like I said, this is our first year in this building, but we're hoping this building with the winter time and having a wood stove in here will be able to increase the efficiency a little bit. But
well, what about OSHA and splitting wood here with a mallet? Wouldn't we be better off to go on Craigslist and see if we could find a second-hand wood splitter to make the kindling?
Well, yeah, I know you're a supporter of that.
I've seen them in here flinging away with two guys standing 10 feet away and the sides flying out when they finally hit it in the middle of the wood.
Right. I hate having this conversation with you because every time I do, then someone gets hurt the next week.
Okay.
I go for 7 years with nobody getting hurt. You bring up the conversation and I get someone hurt. But very rarely does it happen to get hurt. Yes, we could go on Craigslist and get a wood splitter to do it, and we could try it. I don't know how fast it would be. What we have done, which has really helped, is we added in our 8-way wood splitter wedge, which I'll take you out and show you in the wood processor, and that produces a lot of the small stuff for us. Sometimes they use up that small stuff faster than it produces it, and then they have to do it, but we've really cut down on that. A lot of what you're seeing now is last week one of the wedges broke and we had to have it welded, and so it was bringing out big pieces, so they were just splitting them in half so that they would fit in the bags better. But that's really, the 8-way's really improved that, so I'm not convinced myself that we necessarily now with that 8-way that we need to go get the wood splitter. We'll just go around and look at the processor. This is our wood processor. It was purchased 2 years ago. This will be going on our 3rd year, I believe. It was summer 2013 when we got it. We had it designed to be a little bit longer so we could fit the whole length logs that come off the truck. So we pick them up with the loader, the backhoe, and we set them on there with the forks. And then there's a station on the other side that has a couple of joysticks, and that runs, bringing the logs in, brings them this way, runs your saw. As you can see, it uses the 404 chain. It's a large saw, chops it, and then you have a wood splitter in here, and the ram comes through. This is the 8-way wood splitter that we were just talking about inside, which helps produce a lot smaller product. That can go up and down, is adjustable with a lever, and then it comes through here. The conveyor is running, and the conveyor can dump it into the truck, or lately, to try to make things a little more efficient, we've built a table that goes underneath that with an incline, and then the guys will stand over there and sort the wood as it comes through for kenneling wood, too big wood, short pieces, all those things. While we're running this, usually 2 inmates can handle doing that job. There's been, there's some wear and tear on different parts of this. We've had it for, like I said, a little over probably 2.5 years almost, or going on the 3rd year, and we've run at least 200 cords or better through this. So as new as it is, it's actually gotten a lot of use. We've had a few mechanical issues here and there, but overall it's held up pretty good. It wasn't the exact machine that I had hoped that we would purchase, but it has done us pretty good. I can't complain too hard about it.
How much did this machine cost again?
We financed it for 5 years, and it was $45,000. That includes the financing charge and everything. So, and it's about $1,000 a year. So we paid about $40,000, and it's going to cost about $45,000 with financing. We make 1 annual payment a year on it. We're making our 3rd payment here next month, so we'll have 2 more payments after that, and it'll be paid off.
We had the opportunity to pay the whole thing off and save $1,000 a year in interest, and the decision was made not to do that by the subcommittee, I guess.
So that's what's done. It has a Kubota 50-horse engine on it, diesel. What we try to do, we found this winter, is we'll process for, let's say, all day and get a bunch of wood inside there, and then if we know a snowstorm's coming, we put it in the hay barn, or sometimes if it's going to be cold out, we'll put it in the shop that's heated, and then it starts and the fluids are all a lot warmer the next morning for us to start processing again. It hooks right up to the back of the pickup truck and can be traveled around very easy. The conveyor folds down in half and cranks up, and then you fold those where the logs are up, hook it onto the pickup truck, and you can pull it in and out. We try to leave it set up as much as possible, and during the summer months, just because it's quicker for us. But in the winter months, the first winter we didn't do that. We left it outside, and we struggled a lot more with being cold and snow and ice on it, and it just wasn't working out. So this last winter we really did a conscious effort of keeping it inside, and then in the warmth the night before we're going to use it, and it really made a big difference. And I think it's also good for the machine to be inside as much as possible in the cold months.
Can you use this sawdust on the berries, or is it too acidic or too?
No, we do use it for the blueberries. What'll happen is after we get a certain amount built up here, we will bring the loader down, and we'll clean all that up and take it down, and we use it for the blueberries. We don't produce enough to do all of our blueberries. We still need to buy some in, but every little bit does help. out here while we're in the barnyard, we have a couple more implements I just talked about. If we scan through there, see we got a little 2-autumn plow that's used now and then. This is our black plastic mulch layer. We're going to walk up to the garden so you'll see how that puts it down. But the plastic rides inside down to the bottom, and then on this bar here we put a roll of drip tape, and the drip tape runs underneath the plastic. It's pulled with the tractor, and that way we can put drip tape in for our garden at the same time with the mulch, the black plastic, which keeps weed control down. So once we put that in, the inmates seed it, and then we basically don't have to come back until, for the most part, don't have to come back until harvest time. So it cuts our labor down in the garden for our production.
Where did this come from? Doesn't look like it's new.
Nope. Before my time, it came in here.
Been here that long?
Yes.
Oh.
And I don't know the exact story. I do know that Commissioner Sorensen could probably answer that question much better than I could. This is our 3-point hitch, basically rototiller. So we put that on. What we'll do is we have a set of harrows. We harrow the ground first, break it up pretty good. Then we put this on, and it makes a very nice, soft powder basically. And then we go over top of it with the mulch layer to lay the mulch down. And this was purchased quite a few years ago, but was left in the building until I came here. The year I came, I think, was the first year that it got pulled out and used. And we use it every year. It's a very handy tool to have around. This building straight ahead that we're walking towards, 3-bay garage. It's an old, the old garage before what is now the shop that we toured earlier. We're still working on, we use it for storage a lot right now. The nursing home had their little trailer that they have for their golf cart stored in here at one point. Now they've got it over there, I believe. We got a couple implements. We got the little tractor in there right now for the winter time is where we've had that. We're going to pull that out this week, and then all of our plows, snow plows, we'll put inside. I like to leave them under cover for the summertime. So once the tractor comes out, the snow plows will go in. We also have various things in there for that we store our large quantity of bags, onion bags for bagging wood. We have a lot of different things for our farm day that we always have here every year that are stored in there. So it's an overall storage place to keep things.
Now, is that the fuel?
That is the gasoline pumps. We have our diesel pumps around the corner right here that we have for our diesel and then our gas. So that way we can fill up. We also, the gas pump generally, recently they've changed. They don't use it as much, the jail, but the nursing home has a vehicle that they pump over here, and it's also available. We usually keep plenty in there so that way if there was a major catastrophe, the sheriff's department would have access to gas and to diesel to run generators and such around here. Each generator has a large capacity tank, but in the event of a long emergency outbreak, I tend to sit in on a lot of the emergency management meetings that have here now and then, and that's some of the resources that we help provide from the farm or the maintenance department to help with in a situation of that. Here's 2 of the hay wagons that we talked about. Just wanted to talk a little bit about them. This one on the left here we purchased, but this one on the right, and we have another one up in the other part of the yard. We bought what's considered the running gear underneath. We bought that, and then the tops here, which are going to get painted again this year. It's been 5 years since we built these. We cut the trees out back. This is all built out of hemlock. We cut the trees out back, had someone come in and mill them, and then we built the hay wagons ourselves right here on the farm. There's big 20-foot 6x10s underneath there that are supports, and we've stained them up a few years ago. Like I said, we need to stain them again, but these are a very important part to our haying operation. Well, we're going to move up right here to the garden. This is the plastic I was telling you about a minute ago that the machine lays down. Each one of these have a drip tape underneath them, and they all be hooked in up at the top. This year we put in an automatic water system, so that way it'll conserve water but also water everything that needs to be done in a timely fashion, even on the weekends if staff isn't here at the time, to keep everything watered. This garden down, it's it's on different valves compared to the hoop house. So that way, if we're getting lots of natural water here, we can shut this part off, but still run water daily for the hoop house in there. We'll head up to this hoop house. Off to your left here, you'll see our wonderful seasonal crop of geese that we grow and their babies. That does present a challenge for us at times in the garden. They do like to come up. Sometimes it works in our advantage. They'll keep these rows eating all the grass out of them, so we don't even have to hardly rototill them, and other times they take the plants right along with them. So that is always a challenge that we have over here with them. But we can head up to the hoop house here. So we're up here at the hoop house. Just before we go in, I wanted to point it out. All this lumber, we did get a grant, as many of you know, to build to buy it and put it up. Purchase most of the materials, but all this lumber came off our land. We went out and cut the trees again, had someone come in and mill them out. A combination of hemlock and pine, depending on where it was located. And so that all came off of our own land. We try to be very resourceful as much as we can around here for those things. So just wanted to point that out as we
We
go.
also had a very skilled inmate,
Yes, that's right.
obviously not skilled at some things, but skilled at woodworking. And
He was a carpenter, and as we talked about earlier in the conversation, he was here for a little while, started talking with them, and he knew this project was coming up, and pretty much came over and led the project. He was an older gentleman, so he had a very good way about him to talk to the younger guys and able to get them to cooperate all together. And with Olivia's help, was here just about every day and some direction, and the staff and a couple of inmates, and put this thing up in was about 2 weeks maybe for the most part. And we went up. So just watch the step coming on in.
we get
Did you find where it was leaking?
Yeah, it was right.
One of these spaghetti streams?
It was that one.
Oh, okay.
Because you could see all the water droplets.
Oh,
It must
okay.
have been spraying all the way down there.
Oh yeah. So this is the hoop house. It's 26 by 84 in length. We have louvers on that end that help pull in cool air, and then above us we have a fan that's hooked up that pushes air out. We also have a small fan. This is double layered in here, so it has a small fan that keeps a bubble in between. And as far as any of the other operation, I'm going to turn it over to Olivia to fill you in. She knows a little bit more. I'm still kind of learning on this growing one of these.
Right.
Just try to talk loud because that fan's on.
right from there.
I think we can turn that off for a minute, can't we?
Perfect.
So yeah, we got this.
And your name is?
So I'm Olivia Saunders. I work for UNH Cooperative Extension as the field specialist in food and agriculture. So I'm a county field specialist, and part of my job, as I have time, is to do sort of research projects in the county that are helpful to the growers and producers in the northern half of New Hampshire. So we do have a research farm down in Durham, but a lot of growers complain that the research done in the seacoasts doesn't really represent the conditions and climatic conditions in the northern half of New Hampshire. So the point of me doing research at the county complex and in this high tunnel is that I can mimic what our vegetable specialist does down on campus. And so that way we have a replicated research projects around the state that then are useful to growers, not only in New Hampshire, but all of New England. So I collaborate with Becky Seidman, our vegetable specialist, and another field specialist in Grafton County, and we kind of work together and do these research projects together in our own regions, and then we report those findings out to growers at major conferences. We put together fact sheets, put things on our website. We have a newsletter that goes out periodically in the summer, and so we're always trying to educate whatever we learn out on these research projects to our growers. And we host them at our research sites, and they can come and ask us questions about what we're doing. So high tunnels are more and more common now on most farms, just because they can extend the growing season, and you have a lot less disease pressure in a tunnel when you can control the rain and like today, you know, these tomatoes are much happier in here than they would be outside. So we can get 2 to 3 to 4 times the yield off of a lot of hot crops like tomatoes and peppers than we would out in a field setting, not under cover. So the tomatoes that we planted in here a few weeks ago will be used for my research project, and then the leftover space, which is just a little under half of the tunnel, Will is using for his own production. That will go to the nursing home or whatever he needs it for. So we're kind of sharing the space, and you know, we talk all winter about what we're doing and kind of make a plan so that it's a even use of the space. And it is really also great for me to do research here, because if I have a big planting day and I need a little bit of extra help, I can get an inmate or one of the county farm workers to help me. Then so throughout the season we'll be collecting data off of the crops that we grow, you know, whether that's yield data, or if we're looking at some sort of disease-resistant variety of crops, we might be rating the crop on how it's doing for yield, which a typical grower might not do in that sort of scientific collection of the data. So we're trying to really hone in on things that the growers talk to us that they need or that are concerns to us, and do that here.
What happened to your onion project?
Yeah, so the tunnel was built in the fall of last year, and we did one overwintering onion. It was really a preliminary study. So onions are typically one of our longest crops, and we tried to grow them through the winter for early spring or late spring harvest of onions, which nobody really does around here yet. So we're trying to just offer another thing that growers can put into their tunnel for another source of income that they could have. So we like I said, we did a small trial of onions, and we pulled those out about a week ago. They never really sized up for us. They just weren't bulbing like they should have been. So
did they in other parts of the county? You
in
did that
in Durham,
conjunction
yeah,
with
in
the
Durham they did bulb up really nicely, and they have harvested them now. So those will be the first onions available in the entire state, because nobody does that yet. So we're honing in on varieties, because it's really a variety-specific thing. You can't just grow any onion over the winter.
Did you have a different variety
We had
than Durham?
a smaller subset. They had much more varieties in a bigger project. We had a sort of a smaller one here. So hopefully we'll do it again this fall, and have just a little bit, you know, we hadn't quite got the tunnel all the way set up. We didn't have irrigation. We don't have the battens up yet on the end walls, so there's a little bit more insulating that we can do to keep it a little bit warmer in here, which I think will help out a lot more. So like I said, we're doing things that are a little bit more innovative, that then we can tell growers, okay, now we know what type of onion to plant, because you can't just grow, and what time of year to grow, because that's another thing that is pretty important. So we can make the mistakes that a production farm wouldn't be able to make. And like I said, all the information that we gain from here goes into fact sheets, it goes into workshops, and so we're really trying to get that information out to people.
And not to interrupt you, but we have all these tomatoes. We'll have we just got them at the end of last week. We got pipes that are going to go through here, and then all the tomatoes will be strung to the pipes as they grow up, to have them vertically. And then we got tomatoes for Olivia's trial. We also put in sweet bell peppers in here. We got some eggplant in here, and then we also at the end seeded in last week some cucumbers. The cucumbers are well received at the nursing home for their cafe in there, for all the fresh salads they make. So we wanted to put in here to see if we can extend the growing season on them, to prevent the frost from here, and see how that'll work out.
So what are you going to do with them? They tend to spread out. Are you going to have them climb somehow?
Yeah. Yep. And if they do spread out, I mean, if we don't have them climbing, we got plenty of room on that side. We can train them to kind of go that way if we need to.
Now, how do you turn the soil over before you plant? I mean, this stuff comes up, the drip stuff comes out, and what do you do with the soil?
We rototill it. We brought the hand rototiller in here, and they rototilled it. This fall, we want to bring in. We have a little more compost out there that we want to bring in, get some organic material into the ground because it's very clay, soily here. So we want to bring that in to kind of fluff it up a little bit, and then we'll rototill that in for next year. All this fabric type stuff that's down, we purchased this year, but it should give us 3-4
Yeah, should last
seasons.
for quite a while.
So you pull it up after the end. This just has staples putting it down. After we take the plants out, we'll pull it up. We'll power wash it down and lay it out to dry this fall, and then fold it up and put it away in the barn for the winter time. And then we can do our groundwork before we put it back down again.
Does it come with the cuts, open it, or do you have to
No,
cut
we
it?
had to do those ourselves. Yeah.
So we put the weed mat down just because we know that labor is limited, and now, we'll weed in here a few times, but it'll be pretty minimal, is the hope. And it's just nice, clean slate, good for food safety. You don't have to worry about any soil and crop contact.
See, up by me, there's a lot of rock.
Yeah.
So I have a half of this as a greenhouse, and there were so many rocks. I had to cut half of my pipes when I put it in. But
Oh,
there's no rock in here.
No, we
Oh.
hit a lot of rocks. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
give you this little mushroom to put the posts in at the end, and
Yeah.
you whack
Mhm.
on that, and
Yeah.
we actually ended up breaking it by the
Yeah.
very end. It was so.
Before we built it, I plowed it and then harrowed it and rototilled it first. Then we built, and when we did those processes, I had them out here picking more of the little rocks.
Mhm.
And we built it, and then even when they were in here rototilling, we also have them. It's kind of a constant
Picking rocks.
picking rocks as usual in New Hampshire. So
So yeah, we're still like figuring it all out, but we have the water on an automatic timer, so these plants get watered every day for an hour, and we don't have to. No one has to come here on the weekends to make sure things are getting watered. It's automatically set up, which is really great.
fans are on thermostat.
Yep.
So when it gets to a certain temperature up above, then those will kick on and start ventilating more.
You got a motor down there that opens that lure.
Yep.
Yep.
When this kicks on, that opens up at the same time to allow more air to come in. And
We have talked about, rolling up and down the sides can be tricky on the weekend when nobody's here. If we're gonna have a frost, we want the sides to be down. So that's something we're working on. We've talked about. They do have these automatic side roll-ups, but they're $1,000 for one. So maybe in the future.
want to evaluate and see how it goes like this first, and then see if we need to do something with that in the future.
Yeah. The other thing that we're not doing in the tunnel but is happening at the farm is more pollinator enhancement. So there's a lot of interest nationally about pollinators, both native pollinators and the honeybee. And so we're trying to educate a lot of growers about pollinator habitat and enhancing that on your farm. So the county farm is great, has amazing habitat for pollinators. There's the fire pond behind us and a nice meadow that surrounds it, so that's great habitat for them. Their pollinators pollinate a third of our crop. All the almond crop is pollinated. It has to get pollinated by an insect. So the decline in pollinators is a very serious concern, both nationally and in New Hampshire. So we have a small trial on the other side of the fire pond, kind of near the compost pile that will go in this fall, looking at establishing sort of these meadows and perennial native crops. So those will go in this fall. Right now we just have some plastic down to kill all the weeds, and then we'll plant into that later this summer. And then we've also talked about putting sort of a strip into the garden area that would just be permanent flowers. So it enhances both the beauty of the farm and is a really good PR thing because you always have something in bloom, but it's also really important food for all those native pollinators. And then outside the other side of the tunnel, there's a little nest box for native pollinators that we built about a month ago. And so that nest box is for our native pollinators like the mason bee, the leafcutter bee, all these bees that come out here in New Hampshire. And so hopefully the bees will nest in that box and pollinate our crops. And it's also just another tool that we can use when we host other growers here to talk about the importance of pollinators on the farm. So.
Olivia, why, for those of us that grow hay, milkweed has become a huge problem. Why aren't they doing any research down at UNH to see if they can figure out something that will kill the
milkweed.
Kill the milkweed and nothing else? I mean, this field out here is beautiful. Is it 8 acres, Willie? And it's useless. It's just covered. And of course, if you don't cut it, then the other fields go.
Right.
You drive around. It only takes one plant, and boy, you're off and running.
Oh yeah, there is a good amount of milkweed here, which is good for Baltic butterflies and other things. So yeah, there's no one. We don't have an agronomist.
But
there
there's
to
a lot of
look
the
at.
agriculture economy comes around here from making hay. You can't sell it. It seems to me that there's some research needed in that department.
Any other questions from the representative? The only other thing I want to say before we move on is that just talking with Olivia shows you how closely Olivia's just one of probably there's one of three educators up at the Cooperative Extension that we work with a lot here on the farm. Our county forester does a lot. She was just down here last week with an intern that's going to be doing some projects here on the property. And then the 4-H coordinators we work with, which we talked about with the blacksmithing and such earlier. But just wanted to point out to the delegation members of how closely we do work with them in this facility to do these different trials and such.
I mean, it's a huge resource for us to be able to do these sorts of projects and then not only educate ourselves, but then pass that on to all the growers in the state. So it's,
Well, that's the purpose of Cooperative Extension, to be the
well, I feel
outreach.
very lucky to have this little piece of land to work with. But we don't have that in
I
every
have to take this phone call.
colony like the honeybee. Lives in a big colony. So one queen bee will lay her eggs in one cell, and you need the hole to be at least 4 inches deep, because the back half will be the female bees and the front half will be the male bees. So if your hole isn't deep enough, you'll only have male bees. So you need to make sure it's a deep enough piece of wood, and this is all just old recycled wood, that little pieces here and there. You can also use any like spent raspberry canes or any kind of pithy stem, and they'll lay their eggs into that, the center of that as well. So you usually want to get these set up, in early May, and they'll just continue to use it. And you'll see they have no one's laid any eggs in here yet, but you'll see they will cap the cell. There might be one in there, but they'll cap the cell, and so then you know that there's some bees in there.
What kind of bees are
They could be all kinds of different ones, but the mason bee, the leafcutter bee, there's a ton of mud bee.
Now, I would be able to get a piece of wood like this, drill a hole in it.
You
What
could
size
shoot
is that
it.
hole?
Well, they're different sizes. We only had 2 drill bits that were long enough, so we only had 2 sizes, but they can be even smaller than this. I think that could be.
And just stick this out in the yard, and this will promote.
So they will naturally in nature they would lay their eggs into where a woodpecker pecked, or where a beetle bore a hole into the side of a tree, and so we're just sort of enhancing that by doing this. And this is kind of a larger one. They actually recommend getting like a 2x4 or 4x4 and having a smaller one, and you can put them on fence posts around. And this is more of just a bigger one, but you can design them however you want.
Do you need
really.
the thing at the top?
No,
or is that just
this
an
just
enhancement?
helps with rain. So this one has a little roof as well, just so that the rain doesn't go into the
Well,
cell.
you need
it's just a fun, good PR
Is there any
project.
pattern to the holes, or you just
No, there doesn't. I mean, you could have a lot more holes in there too. Just the diameter shouldn't be any bigger. I can't remember what that diameter is, but these are, you know,
Like
as
a
large
quarter
as
of
you
an
would
inch?
want to get them. Yeah, I
Quarter
think
of
a
an
quarter inch is the largest you can get it. And at least 4 inches deep. That's the most important thing, because otherwise you just have nails in there.
Through here, on the back side of the old nursing home, we have to plow down through there to get to the pellet boiler.
There's also a road that you can't see very well between us and, not the paved one right close, but
By the hydrant
right
there.
over in front of the pillars is the dirt road that goes all through there. That has to be plowed.
Yeah, and these divots that, or whatever you want to call them, that save us from the 100-year flood that was designed. This used to be all garden up here for our blueberries. This is where we had to move the blueberries because they put these in, and we try to keep those. Those don't get mowed every week because there's a lot more hand mowing by them, but we try to every other week or so keep up with that to keep those looking better. I think they look a lot better when you drive around.
So all the water that comes off the parking lot ends up here.
Correct. Well, there's several of these around. There's one on the other side, which when we walk around, I'll show you that. And then there's one across in that field where the blueberries were. Up towards the front of that field, there is more of these. So different parts, they have it all draining into those, and it drains out there. They packed in special media and everything in there when they did it to hold more water in there. It's like a big sponge in there, I guess. So when you get overflow of water, it can absorb it in there. Or walk for a little bit. Just want to point out a couple things out here. This is our wood lot. We're low on wood right now, as you can see. Usually here in the next few weeks, hopefully, we're going to be processing a little bit up that we'll stack down there on those pallets. We stack it up for cordwood to get it more seasoned. We just, like I said, have been slowly getting away from that business more, so we don't have as much. Then we have a log cut planned, hopefully this fall, and that'll fill in. It'll come in log length like that, and that'll fill in up into here. We'll have big, large rows of logs that come in that we'll use. Our inventory is lower than I'd like to have a lot more inventory, because in the wood business, I just explained this to the commissioners last week, is, you know, you really should have at least a year's time to season. So if we know that we're going to send out 150 cords a year, it'd be nice to have 300 here, so we have, you know, or at least another extra 150 on tap sitting here ready to season. And we don't have that. We're getting rid of it as quick as we can get it in, and that's making our wood a lot greener than I would like to have.
Now, is all this from the county property?
This row here is not. This row here was purchased with what was budgeted this year. We also have more coming in, but that down there is what's left from our wood cut that we had last summer. We had one done up on the hill. It was the winter, and then it went into the summer, and that was what's left of that, and that's what we're using first because it's more seasoned. And then this is what we got in to get us by until our next wood cut comes along. Any questions out here? We're just going to go down here a little bit further. I'm going to show you the wastewater, basically
The septic field?
and then the pump, the station down here, which is an important part that we'll be able to just poke the camera in there and show you real quick. But this septic field has basically 10 septic fields. If we look out over that way, you'll start to see some of the white things in the fields. The hay will be getting cut here eventually. You'll see them better, but it rotates. So every time that Gorman Rupp pumps the water out here, it rotates to a different septic field every time it comes through to get more evenly spread. All right, up here is what I wanted to show you guys. This is where it comes in from the Gorman Rupp. Every once in a while you get a snake in here. Nothing's there.
You got a what in here?
A snake will be hanging out right around the rim there, but if you can see down in there, those are those 10. There's 10 of them individual where it shoots out, and this is pressurized. So when it opens up, it releases the air pressure, and then it flows out there, and then when it closes, the air pressure fills it back in. So there is a compressor down there that runs, kicks on frequently to be able to keep that air pressure up. Sometimes when we lose power, by the time the generators kick back on, we'll lose some air pressure. And when you lose that, all 10 of those will basically be open because there was no pressure to keep them closed. And then when we come in, we have to check on it because you have to shut them off individually, let the air pressure build up, and then open them back up, each one, in order for that air pressure to be there constantly.
And it stays dry down there?
Oh yeah, it's a big concrete tank, basically, that's in.
You know where I'm going when something happens in there.
Right.
That's
So that's the other, this is basically the ending portion of it. You'll see there's a red tube out there. There's a couple of them throughout the property. Those go down to test our groundwater. So Eastern Analytical generally does our groundwater here. And we have in our budget system, a lot of questions are asked about water testing or wastewater testing in the sewer department. And semi-annually, they test that. And then every other week, we take tests from our influent, which I showed you over there, to our effluent, and those tests, or that stuff, is taken up to the North Conway Water Precinct. They do our testing up there, and that's all reported to the state every other week on that stuff. And then, like I said, Eastern Analytical tests for other things, and that's on the wastewater end. Any questions?
who put this in?
They put this in, I'm not sure what the company was. I'd have to ask Wayne. It was before my time, but it was back in around 2003 when they did the upgrade to it all was done at the same time. Okay. Right. Little of a system that it is, it's very important because of how much state regulations with all that, DES and whatnot, and we're licensed with this facility, but a lot of monitoring it throughout, daily monitor of different things that we do.
So now all that you showed us with the sewage is all for the complex.
Exactly.
Nothing is for this town of Ossipee. It's all for just the complex.
Exactly. Just the buildings. Now in the water department, I don't really have, we could talk as we're going, but I don't really, we could, if you wanted to take a drive, I could take you up there, but basically up on the hill up behind the courthouse is where our wells are, and we have a treatment building up there and our holding tank. And it's fed into there, and then from ground gravity feeds it from there down through the complex all the way down to Ossipee Village. And each of those, there's between 40 to 50 customers on there. Each have a water meter that's read quarterly, and they're charged down there, which we've talked about in a lot of the meetings. Again, there's 2 different licenses. We each have to hold treatment to properly treat it, and then distribution to distribute it for that. That takes up, all the hydrants. We do all the maintenance on the hydrants. The fire department down here, Ossipee Corner, does the fire hydrant flushings for us, usually yearly. But if anything breaks or they break something, we maintain all that also. Mm-hmm. With the water, once a month, there's bacteria tests that are done through Thirsty Water. They collect them they come up and pick them up for us and do it and report that for us. And then quarterly, the state has a chart, and they tell you what needs to be tested. So we have to draw those, and we take them down to the state labs in Concord. And it can vary. Not every quarter is the same. They kind of do like a 5-year plan, and they want certain things tested at certain years and certain increments. So they give you a list of what needs to be done for that. And like I said, that's the majority of our. We treat our water up there with the hypochlorite, and a lot of just, again, it's on SCADAR system, so any major things happen, it will notify us. But we also do a lot of checks either daily or at least a few times a week.
You used the word SCADAR system, or what did you say?
Yes, SCADAR system is basically I'm not the techno person of it, but essentially, if there's a problem, it's computerized and it'll call your phone.
Okay, so
we've
electronic monitoring.
Exactly.
basically.
Yeah. Exactly. I think the brand or the name of it is where they get the skater from, but it allows you to remotely keep an eye on things.
In this also.
All right, so this building is, the back half of it has a generator in it. The front half used to have the old boiler system that took care of the old jail site here. Now has been filled in and it's storage for the nursing home maintenance department. That generator runs the old nursing home and the sewer department. But one of the things I wanted to point out of concern that I've made known is the transfer switch, if you will, or the, I don't know the technical terms, but the board basically that tells the generator to come on and off inside that old nursing home is outdated. And I've had several times that the CAT has come out. They've given me estimates and they said this thing is sold, we can't get parts for it anymore. So when that goes, it's going to be a real bad deal. We're looking at the estimate they gave me, and I have to double check in my office, but probably in the $7,000 to $8,000 range. And I keep asking anytime upgrades are going to be done to that building, that's something that should be put on high priority of their list. So that way when we do lose power, the generators will come on to run our sewer system. Otherwise we could have sewage backing up in that grinder building if the power's not running out there.
So this specific generator runs the sewage system.
Yes.
The others do not.
Correct. And it seems weird thinking that the sewer is right next to the jail. Why didn't they hook that generator up to it? But I guess it was a financial deal that it was cheaper to have this one run it and run the line down there than it was to upgrade the generator to the jail. So that's what they chose to do. So it continues to run the sewer system. And then your laundry and your wood pellet furnace in there that the nursing home uses currently would be used with it. But that transfer switch is a really important issue to keep in mind, to have upgraded, because we could definitely, we've been lucky, but we could definitely, every year the guy comes back, how come you guys haven't done this, how come you haven't done this? I said, well, all I can do is pass it on to the people that do budget stuff, and it just hasn't made their priority list yet, I guess. So just a couple things I wanted to point out. We're moving more towards the maintenance, plowing and lawn mowing as we scan around. This back here is where the loading docks, where all the trucks come in. But the thing that makes it a very big challenge for us in the wintertime is this small, what most of us would think is an insignificant incline going up to there is very hard for the truckers to get in here. We sand it, we plow and sand as best as we can, but the sand doesn't always, especially if it's very cold, obviously it doesn't melt it down to the pavement. So when we get those cold stretches, it's very hard to get down to the pavement for those trucks, and they struggle, and that's an issue we have. We've had some drivers threaten not to deliver or whatever, but we do the best we can. Then we also tell them that this fire road is plowed out so they could pull in here and then just offload by hand without the loading dock, and some have done that in extreme cases. But it does make it a challenge for the maintenance department to keep this. Obviously, you can't push snow up in there, so we have to pull it back, and then to keep it down to pavement. This old nursing home, a lot of the issues, people think, oh, okay, there's not a lot of maintenance going on with this old nursing home, but as you can scan around, you can see there's still a lot of lawns that we maintain here, and this whole parking lot. This is a typical day right now. As you look, half of that parking lot is full on day shift, just for parking for the employees at the nursing home. So that whole parking lot has to stay clean and sanded and everything else to accommodate them walking back and forth in that. And then as we scan back over this way in front of these vehicles, we're going to walk up, but between these vehicles and those big trees are a lot more of those drainage holes or whatever you will that we were just talking about behind the hoop house. There's some more on this side, and then there's some more across the street down there. But this corner can get, there's a lot of snow obviously that comes in here, right up where that tree is. Sometimes it'll be piled as high as the tractor can go over there or over here, trying to push it and keep that out. But there's just a lot of pavement around here that I just wanted to, as we walk around, show everybody how has to be done during storms to keep this open for the employees.
Stormwater drainage retention pond.
Yeah, that would
I
probably
think
be
that's
the
it.
technical term. Probably sounds better than divots.
Done with that, Rick.
Yeah, we can go around towards it. Wanted to just show a couple more maintenance things here. You can see this fenced in area. There's 2 of those to this building, one on the other side and one in here. Those have to be, to maintain the grass in there, but also that's a fire evacuation point. So all winter long, all that has to be shoveled out and part of our maintenance when we're during storms. We might let it add up a little bit through there. And what I mean is a couple, 3-4 inches that you can still walk through if there's an emergency, people can still get there. So we don't do that one constantly like we might be where the employees are walking and visitors are walking. But it also is done throughout the storms, and then especially at the end is all cleaned up. You see a lot of the landscaping. As we stand here, you can see that there's a lot of hilly area through here. And pretty much this, if you envision this building as a circle, all the lawn, majority of the lawn inside this circle is all done by hand, and all the weed whacking of course, but all the mowing is done by hand because there's a lot of shrubbery around, a lot of obstacles, and it just makes it easier to do it by hand than with the big mowing machine that I pointed out this morning. When we get onto this side of the obstacle of the circle, as you scan out here, you can see all the lawns that we maintain out in the front. That is another big area that's all done with the riding lawnmower. We're going to move down a little bit so we can get a better view of some of the things that I want to talk about down at this end next.
While we're out front here, Willie, I'd like again to give Carroll credit for the flagpole. Exit Realty donated that flagpole, and it's been something that the older people, most of them are veterans, have really appreciated. So thank you, Exit Realty.
I agree with you. I just wanted to show a couple things in the front and a little bit of a 360 in the area we are, keeping in mind with our departments of the maintenance department more specifically. This it gets mowed hand by hand like I told you, and then in the springtime there's a lot of sand that gets put up in this area where we plow, and all this curbing around here, that all has to be, we can plow through here, and we can get right up. I've rubbed on the curbing before, I try not to, but you can get that close and you still leave stuff behind. So the inmates come through and have to shovel that all out by hand within about a foot or so of a lot of this curbing in order to keep it nice and clean in here. So when you look at it in that perspective, again, how much stuff we have. If you scan this way, just observe this as we go in a little circle here. How many cars are here on a typical day? Okay, now imagine if this was the middle of January and a snowstorm and like all get out right now, and we have to keep this maintained enough so these employees can come out and have a safe and or emergency vehicles and visitors and such. It really makes it a challenge when you have this many vehicles in here to scramble them around during shift changes in order to get things cleaned up behind them. Because second shift, you see this many now, second shift will probably be 3/4 of this, and then third shift is less than half. Third shift generally can fit up in the front parking lots, but there's a lot of juggling around for plowing here, and a lot of tight spaces up here that we're in right now. We have a lot of big mounds of snow that go in this center island here, and then I'm not going to take you guys down to the admin building because everybody generally parks over there when you come in for your meetings, but you know how big the back parking lot is, and then we have this front parking lot up here also. So there's a lot of mowing all the way through here in the summer, cleaning things up, trying to make new mulch and all those things, trying to keep up on that. But the plowing and the obstacle of moving people back and forth during storms, just wanted everybody to kind of get a view of what a typical day is for the amount of vehicles that we deal with, and what a challenge that can be. The courthouse, for example, there's not a single car in the parking lot in the middle of the night, so they can have it all cleaned up for the morning, and a lot of your stores that close down at night have that option. But here, this is a 24-hour operation, 7 days a week, and it's really hard to do that. Any questions? Okay.